Okay, so share that with us. What was his gateway? What was the final thing that made him go, okay, I'm gonna start killing people?
Well, in part, and this actually goes back to that theory of the golden age of serial killers, the sexually compelled serial killers that we spend a lot of media energy on. Uh, a lot of them have talked about those true detective magazines in the 1950s and 60s of scantily clad, bound, terrified women that they fixated on. He's one of those. When he was 14, he found a magazine under the driver's seat of his dad's car, and it as he's developing into a sexual person, he's devouring these magazines. He already had been binding himself, and it was feeling good to him. So bondage, that image of a terrified woman, his desire to dominate women because women had humiliated him, and his desire to be famous. And he saw on these magazines stories about H. Holmes and Harvey Glatman and people like that. And then he saw all the media attention to Ted Bundy and some of the 70s serial killers, and he wanted that too. So his fantasy life is what propelled him. He was thinking all about these things and imagining himself as one of those elite serial killers. And so when then he saw a woman and her daughter walking, and he followed them home, and he looked at the house, and he already had envisioned himself in this kind of spy James Bond way. So he decided just to go do it. Let's try it. And right before then, he had actually tried. Already been breaking into houses, and he had tried to abduct somebody in a parking lot. That had failed. But this time he went into the house, and he took total command of the family. He killed four people in his first time out.
Jeez. So this just came from quixotic thinking, right?
Yeah,
he just
yes, it was.
romanticized it. I mean, it was
He
just
did.
like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
There's such a
yeah.
disc.
It's he already as a child had been binding himself with ropes and hanging cats and imagining, for him, bondage was highly arousing. He had imagined trapping girls, tying them to railroad tracks. All of that was part of his fantasy life. And as he came into being a man, and this at this point, he was also married. Then during his spate of murders, he had two children. He was the president of his church congregation. He was a competent work person. I mean, he wasn't like pick up jobs and somebody who couldn't hold down a job. He had jobs. In fact, he was installing security systems, so he knew exactly how to break into houses.